Connor, it's a Super Bowl commercial. I remember seeing the Hims and Hers. Hold on. Multiple times. I had no idea what the commercial was about, but you're saying the FDA is talking about what's going on with the FDA and getting
Yeah,
caught?
so there's been a little bit of an interesting controversy around this Super Bowl commercial. If you're unfamiliar, Hims and Hers is a telehealth company that advertises a bunch of drugs and health supplements and stuff, and they did a Super Bowl spot that was, I would say, this close to perfect. If you watch most of this ad, it actually might be one of the more based Super Bowl commercials I've seen in a long time.
Well, I mean, I remember parts of it.
Until they get to the part where their product comes in. Okay. So let's roll that ad first, and I'll get your thoughts on it.
This is it? This is the commercial?
This is the commercial that aired during the last Super Bowl a couple weeks ago.
Let's see it.
Obesity is America's deadliest epidemic.
This is America.
74% of us are overweight, and obesity leads to 500,000 deaths each year.
Why, you just have to stop eating, Jimmy.
This is America.
Something's broken, and it's not our bodies.
Very good.
It's the system.
Can't
Welcome to Weight Loss in America.
Like and subscribe.
A $160 billion industry that feeds on our failure.
Yeah.
There are medications that work, but they're priced for profits, not patients.
This is America.
This system wasn't built to help us. It was built to keep us sick and stuck. But not anymore. Hims and Hers offers life-changing weight loss medications. They're affordable, doctor-trusted, and formulated in the USA. You get a treatment plan designed by a doctor to fit your body, goals, and lifestyle. You deserve to feel great in your body. This is the future of healthcare. This is Hims and Hers.
What's in the bio?
No,
Join us in the fight for a healthier America.
The ultimate irony is they are the ones now making money off of the obesity epidemic of America.
Exactly. So the thing is, what is in those vials is a compound called compounded semaglutide. And we will discuss this medication at length. But basically what that ad is for is to sell you through Hims and Hers telehealth service prescriptions to what is basically off-market Ozempic.
Oh, gosh.
So
Just generic.
Yeah, you see that ad starts off fantastic. Obesity crisis and the corruption in the food system, and the system exists to keep you sick. But there's been a lot of confusion about what happened with that ad. Let's go to this clip from Good Morning America where they were responding to some of the controversy over this commercial.
The weight loss drug ads from Hims and Hers that you probably saw during the Super Bowl. The treatments in the ad do not require FDA approval, and they're coming under new scrutiny after the commercials aired during the big game. Elizabeth Schulze has what you need to know about them. Good morning, Elizabeth.
Good morning, Michael. Well, in this high-profile Super Bowl ad, healthcare startup Hims and Hers showed off its weight loss drug, calling it life-changing and an affordable option for American consumers. But critics say that the ad was deceptive and left out critical safety information.
This is the future of healthcare.
An escalating controversy this morning over this Super Bowl ad from telehealth company Hims and Hers.
This system wasn't built to help us.
Portraying a greedy American healthcare system and touting the company's weight loss drug as a less expensive alternative to medications like Ozempic and Wegovy.
They're affordable, doctor-trusted.
Hims and Hers drug is compounded, meaning it combines or mixes multiple drugs to create a tailor-made medication. So it isn't required to go through the FDA's rigorous approval process. The maker of Ozempic and Wegovy firing back in a full-page ad Monday, writing, "Do you really know what you're injecting into your body?" Two senators blasting Hims and Hers for failing to include side effect disclosure, risk, or safety information as would typically be required in a pharmaceutical advertisement.
That Hims and Hers ad? Whoa. Diabolical.
Some viewers were also put off, saying the ad encouraged fat shaming and depicted weight loss drugs as a silver bullet for America's obesity epidemic.
Hims and Hers is not going to fix the food in our country.
In a statement to ABC News, Hims and Hers saying, "We don't believe Americans should be a certain weight or size. We take safety, quality, and transparency steps for every customer on our platform. We are complying with existing law."
So we can go ahead and cut it there. But as you can see, everyone is losing their minds over this commercial.
If I may raise the obvious point, where Good Morning America says critics are now going there, and Good Morning America is going after this company. Do you know who the biggest advertiser on Good Morning America?
Could it be perhaps Pfizer, Moderna?
Yes. So now they get their pharma to say, go after this company because they're going to cut into our stuff.
Of course.
Holy hell is the corruption.
It's gangster.
What is it they say? You never go full big pharma, right?
Never go full big pharma.
You could literally see the frame where they sold out. Like, it was perfect. The commercial was fantastic. I remember watching it like, this is crazy. This is new. We're changing. And then it was like, you can literally see the second everything changed.
Broken system. Food's making you fat, keeping you sick. And they just want to sell us more drugs.
Yeah, you should. The commercial could have just stopped. I would have respected the hell out of them if it was just somebody looking after all that. It does this, all these deaths, and it's just some random person going, "Stop eating like shit, dumbass."
Oh, that would be
fun. Just, by the way, how about just a feel-good commercial going, "Get out of the refrigerator at 4 a.m., chunky."
It ends with a picture of RFK just
glaring
at you with the camera. Yeah. And as this guy on Instagram will point out, this is a post I saw that got my mind kind of moving on this subject. Hims and Hers showed a bowl of Fruit Loops in that ad, which means they are very carefully paying attention to the Maha movement.
Yeah.
They're paying attention to what RFK is saying and identifying Fruit Loops as one of the worst cereals. Play a couple seconds of this guy's video just so we can see another example of someone online freaking out about this.
This Hims and Hers ad during the Super Bowl is so insidious and also quite possibly illegal. Because at first I was like, hell yeah, who's this talking about obesity and how it's America's #1 health crisis, which is 100% true. They call out how the system is meant to keep us sick. They point out that the food industry is selling us poison for profit. They even threw in visuals of Fruit Loops, so I know they're for sure paying attention to Maha and the movement to boycott Kellogg's. But guess what their solution is? It's just more drugs. Injectables, pills, you name it. So then I looked into what Hims and Hers is peddling. And it turns out what they're essentially selling is unregulated Ozempic, something called compounded semaglutide, which the FDA has not reviewed, approved, or tested for safety or efficacy. In fact, the FDA website right now has a warning about these unapproved weight loss drugs. They're talking about cases of hospitalization due to dosing errors, possible counterfeit Ozempic. There have been hundreds of reported cases of adverse side effects.
We can pause this here.
It makes you go blind.
I want to talk about what the issue is. Because if you listen to Good Morning America and you listen to guys like this who posted this video, the problem is that what they are selling, the version of semaglutide that Hims and Hers is trying to sell with this commercial, is the compounded version, which is not FDA approved. But the reason this hit home for me a little bit is because my wife works for a compounding pharmacy. And so we have insider information on what this actually means. And there was a lot of confusion in this video in particular. There's a big thing going on in the comments section of people arguing over what that actually means. If we go to the next video, my wife, my inside source in the pharmaceutical industry, actually gave us a little explainer. I think she might be in the chat right now.
Hi, Natalie!
Chat, if you're watching, go
So she's going to break down the compound stuff?
She's going to break down what compounded medication actually is. If we can roll this clip she very kindly made for me last night.
Awesome.
Hey, Unusual Suspects. My name is Natalie. I'm Connor's wife. I have been a compounding pharmacy technician for almost 6 years now. So Connor wanted me to explain the difference between commercial and compounding drugs. Commercial drugs are the ones that are, yes, FDA regulated, and they are mass produced. So they're produced at set strengths. Maybe there'll be a couple per drug, but it's not a wide variety of strengths so that they can be mass produced. The difference between that and compounding is patient specific. You can do pet medications, people medications, but you're able to do specific strengths or specific formulas that cater to people who need something different. Like if they are chemically sensitive and they need a really low strength, or if something's not working and they really need a higher strength, we can do that. We can do hypoallergenic formulas for people who have allergies. We can do ophthalmic drugs for eye drops that aren't available commercially. We can do injections. We can do, let's say someone has trouble swallowing. We can do a liquid medication rather than a capsule for them. So we can offer things that the commercial drug market is not capable of doing. Now, there are two myths here about the compound drug market, and that is that A, it's not regulated, and B, it is knockoff drugs. So it's not a knockoff drug. it's a generic compound, but we're using the same active ingredients. Like compounded semaglutide, for example, is going to be using semaglutide, which is the same active ingredient as what's being used in the commercial Ozempic. It's kind of like the difference between over-the-counter Tylenol and over-the-counter acetaminophen. Same thing. The other myth is that it's just totally unregulated, like it's some back alley drug deal, which is not what's happening. So it may not be regulated directly by the FDA, but there are a lot of presiding agencies over it that are putting checks and balances in place to make sure that we're making the correct things that are safe for patients to take. Whether it's the NABP, which assesses my facility in particular every 3 years, or the State Board of Pharmacy, the Florida State Board, which assesses us I think it's annually. We also have to renew our paperwork and our licensure information with all the states that we are licensed to ship into every single year. And there's also the fact that every single bulk chemical that we bring in to compound everything is regulated by the FDA. So we go through distributors like ANDA, PCCA, Amerisource. All of these are FDA regulated manufacturers. So there are some of just the basic differences between compounding and commercial drugs. And I hope you have a great rest of your episode. Love you guys. Love you, babe.
Thanks, Natalie.
Thank you, hon. I appreciate that. So her insight into this actually kind of helped open my eyes to something interesting on this subject. We talk about big pharma all the time. Right. You know, we discuss, you know, the campaign big pharma has to keep us sick, keep us hooked on their medications, the things big pharma did during COVID, but we often struggle to define what big pharma is. This is big pharma. The FDA and the major commercial drug companies hand in hand to regulate the drug market and sell us products that are often bad for us. Yeah. So compounded medication is essentially small pharma. It's the thing outside of that system, which is part of why the FDA doesn't regulate it. The issue that Good Morning America and all these people on social media are taking with the Hims and Hers ad is that the version of semaglutide they're selling is compounded. The problem is not that it's compounded. The problem is that it's semaglutide, which, like they said, is Ozempic. Side effects of Ozempic include intestinal blockage, more recently blindness. I wrote down a list because I found more and more headlines about the problem. Erectile dysfunction, low testosterone, intestinal problems, stomach paralysis, pancreatitis, thyroid tumors.
But I'm not chubby.
The list goes on and on.
Prevent the effectiveness of contraception.
Exactly. Because it is being used as a designer weight loss drug rather than what it was created for, which is a diabetes medication.
Yeah.
And all these companies are just trying to push, oh, if you want to lose that stubborn 15 pounds and don't feel like actually putting in effort, inject yourself with this and you'll shed the pounds right off.
Yeah.
But the thing with compounding is that this goes back to ancient times of, okay, you're sick, you go to the local doctor. Not that they have, you know, this massive stockpile of something they made for everybody. They custom make the thing to treat your symptoms. Like my wife said in that video, they do lower dosages. For example, if, you know, someone needs a certain kind of medication that's only available in a high dose capsule, they can make low dose capsules, or vice versa. Somebody needs a higher dose, they make a higher dose capsule. So instead of having to take 15 doses in a day, you just take one. Yeah. Pet medication, things for eye medication, that like eye drops that aren't commercially available. Things like if you have a dye allergy or, you know, various other sensitivities to these things. And so it's a myth to say that compounded medication is not FDA regulated, because they bring the chemicals in, like at my wife's pharmacy. They ship chemicals in, they make all the drugs in-house, and then ship them out to the customers who were prescribed to them by a doctor. All those chemicals they ship in are FDA regulated. The controlled substances also have to be checked by the DEA because they make painkillers. So when you hear people freaking out about, you know, that it's not FDA approved, let's take a brief look back at things that are FDA approved. If we go one other slide over, Ozempic, like we just said, with all these horrific side effects. OxyContin, that thing that the FDA, when it first got rolled out, said had less than a 1% chance of being addictive, and they prescribed it for headaches. Yeah, definitely no collusion there with the Sackler family and Purdue Pharma and McKinsey corporate consultant, all of whom had to settle for, you know, the biggest corporate settlements in pharma history, I believe, to say nothing of the COVID vaccines. those are all FDA approved under emergency use authorizations, where that got rolled out really fast and had basically no time for clinical trials. So, like I said, the problem is not that it's compounded. The problem is that it's semaglutide to begin with.
The problem is that we're living in a post-truth world now. We see that ad and say, oh, they're making something that's good, and then they're selling a medication. And then we say, oh, I'm skeptical of them. Then Good Morning America, sponsored by Pfizer, comes out and says, I'm attacking them now because they're giving competition to our big sponsor. And I say, oh, I'm inclined to trust them again. Oh, and then they say it's not FDA approved. And yeah, the same FDA that was banning ivermectin and saying you're not a horse and getting all political, I don't trust the FDA. So if the FDA doesn't approve it, maybe I think it's even better. This is a post-truth world where we don't know who to trust anymore, and it's almost by design. But the bottom line, instead of saying get off your butt and exercise, they say we got a medication for that, while shitting on the other
And to show you the
medications.
importance of these compounding facilities, my wife's pharmacy was one of the few in the country that continued to supply ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine during the pandemic. Because unlike commercial facilities, which were told, do not under any circumstance produce ivermectin. And if you are found giving out ivermectin to anything other than like horses, you'll be able to lose your license. They were able to continue compounding it. And any doctor who was willing to give you an ivermectin or HCQ prescription, you could have that filled at their pharmacy. They were one of like only a handful that continued doing that.
Right.
So this is very clearly why Big Pharma wants to go after compounding facilities, because they're the only ones that are kind of out of their reach for now.
Yeah.
And they hate that.
They aren't actually the bad guy. It's the big pharma. Who's
Exactly.
The bad. I wonder if puberty blockers are FDA approved. Do you guys?
Pretty sure.
Rob?
Yeah.
A lot of them are, I'd
it's
have to
just-
imagine.
It's crazy. I feel like we live in a society that's just so obsessed with medicalization in every single way. Like we live in a world that is conducive to making everybody like sick, sad, and gay. And so now they're just doling out like puberty blockers, sex changes, SSRIs,
Well, I believe,
and weight loss pills as a solution. And I guarantee you, in a decade from now, when we analyze all of this, we're going to be so fascinated by the mindset of the people who let this happen, because it's going to make everything so much worse. The lawsuits that will be coming to light over the period of the next decade are going to be insane.
I believe the puberty blocker Lupron is FDA approved, because before it was prescribed as a puberty blocker, it was used to chemically castrate sex offenders.
Well,
So-
things might have been FDA approved for one use, and then they use it for an off-label use, and that's sort of generally tolerated unless it's therapeutic treatment
Exactly.
of COVID.
But with compounding, they don't have to, they're not legally obligated to list, on that insert all the side effects and everything.
Right.
Many still do. And also, that's where you as a patient need to have a conversation with your doctor and with your pharmacist about the side effects of your medication. And if you're relying on, the paper being in there as the thing that shields everybody from legal repercussions, that's because nobody's doing their due diligence. Doctors are prescribing things they don't know about the side effects of. Pharmacists are filling them. Patients are taking them. Just because your doctor gives you something does not mean you're immediately obligated to swallow or inject it.
Yeah.
So, I think it's time everybody woke up and started paying a little bit more attention to what we put in our bodies. This is RFK's America now.
Yeah,
So let's get healthy again.
So if you like this clip, click right here. And if you want to see more like it, click right here. Stay angry, Patriots.